There is a bipartisan bill now that's proposing $20,000 payment for the elimination of, let's say, a 10-year green card backlog. What's your immediate reaction to that?
I think it's a great thing. They're proposing on this new bill that was proposed by these two congresswomen, one from Florida, one from Texas, Salazar and Escobar, where essentially they're saying if you've been waiting for 10 years, you should be able to get ahead of the line, but you got to pay costs for it, right? So they're proposing, pay some money, and then if you're waiting for that long, you should be ahead of the line. And obviously that brings in income for the government and for people who have been waiting for a very long time to get to the States. So I think it's a great idea. It's been a problem for many years. A lot of Congress people have tried to pass legislations that deal with this, but this proposed legislation brings in a whole range of different issues that combined, right, might be more viable to pass Congress than just simply trying to do just this one particular issue of the backlog. So I think that it's very attractive for Congress.
What's your feeling this time around? You think they're going to be able to pass it?
I think that given the history of what's happened in the past couple of years and the frustration with people with sort of immigration broken system, I think that people are eager to see their congressmen and women actually do something about it. So if it makes sense, if it's a sensible legislation that addresses issues that not only sort of protect the borders, but at the same time gives opportunity to people who want to come over here, be entrepreneurs, and be a good part of society, then I think it's going to be, very influential for our Congress people to pass it.
Okay. Would you bet money on this?
Would I bet money? I would never bet money on anything when it comes to Congress, but I think that he certainly has a much better chance than all the legislations that we've seen in the past.
I think it's possible, and here's why. I remember watching some of Donald Trump's speeches, and he was basically saying, "Hey, look, if you graduated from a U.S. university, you should be given a green card." So when you look at the immigration policy or the attitude towards people who studied here, people who are working here, people who came in here with visas such as H-1Bs, O-1s, through the talent route, it seems like the current administration is really, see, again, I lack evidence for that, right? But I think they're trying to facilitate that. And I think that'd be okay for it. So my feeling this time around that there is a serious possibility here. It could really happen.
Yeah, going back to what you just said. So it's sort of like a bundle of new measures that put together would be more influential for Congress people to pass it, right? So you just mentioned the student part of it, right? You've heard Donald Trump talk about that he warms to the idea of having students come in here, graduate in United States universities and colleges, and then doing work over here. So part of this new proposed legislation is saying that they're going to make these student visas a dual intent visa. I know me and you have talked about this a lot of times. There's a whole different range of visas just for our audience, and some visas allow you to basically have the intent to stay here permanently, and some other ones do not, right? So the student visa is one of the ones where you're supposed to just go back after you're done. So I think this is one of the measures that kind of tries to appeal to that sort of base, or at least that crowd that wants to see that happen, along with all these different moving parts that I think make it more attractive for Congress people to pass it.
So if that happens, that makes studying in the U.S. is a viable path to immigration, literally. Yeah. If the F-1 visa becomes a dual intent visa, which in a way, it's not a dual intent visa, but you have the OPT, the CPT, you can still work. It gives you a lot of room to stay inside the country and continue working and maybe transition into another visa, find a sponsor for H-1B, right, or straight up, a green card or another visa. But now you're saying that they would testify and they would officialize this?
Yeah, that's a proposal. And going back to what you were saying about OPT, so right now they're not being taxed. So they're using a lot of different measures to try to attract different parts of Congress, right? You have like extremes on both sides and you have middle people, right? So you have to like appease everybody, right? So one of the things that they're throwing in there is like, okay, well, for people who are students and they do OPT, for people who don't know what that is essentially if you're a student, you can work essentially and within the industry that you're studying. But now they're saying, but you don't get taxed on your earnings as of now. So they're kind of like trying to appease part of the Congress by saying, hey, we're also going to get some money out of the people who are working, right? And at the same time, let them have the opportunity to stay here if they're worthy of staying here and they're going to be valuable for society overall.
People are willing to pay. Immigrants are willing to pay. Why not? I mean, if there is a path that's going to fast track everything and, they can continue working, they continue paying taxes and contributing to society, why not? But there's a caveat with this new bill, right? It's not for everybody. Who is it for?
Well, I mean, there's several sort of different groups that
there's a 10-year thing, right?
There's a 10-year thing that, addresses not only family-based petitions and employment-based petitions. There's a lot of people, especially in countries like India and China, who have been waiting literally, decades, right? And because there is a quota on the amount of visas that are allotted every year, right? The time gets retrogress. So one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to expand the percentage of amount of people that they can come in every single year, right? Or visas that are allotted every single year. I think it's from 7% to 15%, right? So that would allow more people to come in or at least make that process faster. Mm-hmm. So that's one group. The other group is people who are here undocumented. They can try to essentially go through a process, at least the process that's being proposed, where, you pay also a fee. They're tying everything up also with money, right? Like, let's get some money in as well, right? I think it's $7,000. Obviously, you got to, pass a criminal background check. Got to make sure that, you've been paying your taxes, you're a good human being, et cetera, right? And you're, being a productive part of the society. And then you can essentially not quite get a residency, but you get the ability to stay here for like 7 years and then once again apply and you go on and on and on like that, right? So I think those are very attractive things to different segments of Congress. And I think it's being crafted so it could be very convincing.
Yeah.
And I think it has a good shot overall.
It seems like very interesting changes are about to happen. There is the H-1B thing now, right? Yeah. So if you have your own company, you can sponsor yourself for H-1B. Yeah. How about that? Where are we with that?
So historically, H-1Bs have been a little bit targeted, at least in the past administration. Sometimes it depends on the mood of what's going on at the top. Sometimes, the big guy is okay with it and he says that he doesn't mind it. Some other times, people who are actually underneath him and talk, sort of the immigration policy, like Stephen Miller, basically, he's the architect of everything that is related to immigration. And he comes out and says, oh, you see all these layoffs that Microsoft is doing, and then all of a sudden they want to go ahead and get people through H-1B. So we're not going to allow that. So it's sort of like a contentious thing, but I think in the end they do see value, and they also recognize that unfortunately in this country we are lacking prepared people that can fulfill these jobs. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of other people are coming in and just taking in jobs. I think it's a matter of unfortunately the populace is not well educated and trained to fulfill these jobs in these huge tech companies that need this type of workers. So I mean it's a very contentious issue, but I think overall it's looking a little bit rosier than before.
Sure. I mean, in general, when you look at it from the perspective of competitive advantage, global competitive advantage, when you are dealing with potential competitors like China, and you're always complaining about, they're ripping us off, they're kicking our butt here, butt there. Well, one talent that works here is one talent that doesn't work over there. So does it not make sense to invite as many talented people to your country as possible to gain that competitive advantage? Because they'll go elsewhere. They'll go to Dubai. They'll go to Saudi Arabia. They'll go elsewhere. I mean, look, U.S. is still the best thing after sliced bread. I mean, it's right up there. But for how long that's going to be the case? There'll be other opportunities, and this is not good. This is not good.
And to your point, how many other people there are CEOs of huge companies here in the United States who were immigrants, right? Of
course.
Or their parents were immigrants. I mean, you can count them, right? Tesla, Apple. I mean, pretty much, not Apple, but Microsoft. I mean, pretty much a lot of the huge names.
Steve Jobs' father is Syrian.
Yeah.
Like his biological father is Syrian.
So like you also to that extent of the argument, it's like, yeah, you want to bring in people who are very talented because then they will create companies that are going to employ more Americans and, and stimulate the economy, which I think is a great idea.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this country has been built on immigration. And I think that, unfortunately, we've fallen a little bit behind when it comes to the important, innovative fields like tech. And, that could sort of be a solution to bring in talented people and then fix the system in here. And also at the same time, have programs that can educate, our youth into this field so we can also have jobs for them for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, sounds like an exciting news. So how would that, circling back to the new bill, how would that work? I mean, it's too early to speculate on how that's going to work. I mean, I remember us speculating on the gold card thing that nobody knows where it is. I mean, some people say that, they already sold 1,000 of them, 10,000 of them.
Yeah, it was like a sign up, but it's not. They have to pass legislation for it. So.
Yeah, so it's up in the air. So it's early times, but provided that this passes, how do you think its implementation would be?
Well, that's kind of like the tricky part, right? So Congress will pass legislation, and then they leave it to the agencies to implement actually the process and how the regulations are going to go about. I mean, typically that could take I don't know, a year or 6 months. It really depends on how complex the proposed new legislation is. But I mean, I think that they're going to give a priority to this. I mean, people are sick and tired of just having a broken immigration system, and they just want to see things move forward, right? So I think that right now it's in the House. It was proposed in the House. Obviously, it's got to go through committees. Once the committees approve it, then they go on a full vote. If it passes on the House, then it goes to the Senate. If the Senate doesn't have any changes, then it could just go straight to the president's desk for signature. If there's changes in the Senate, it goes back to the House. So back and forth. But I mean, I think, like I said, they have been very clever at putting different things that are attractive to different kinds of groups within Congress in order to pass this and to make this something that will benefit them politically and the country overall, right? Because I mean, they're always thinking about getting elected the next year, right? So I think it's like a little play on that as well.
Cool. Well, let's keep fingers crossed.
Yeah,
and hope for the best.
For sure.
Thanks, Joaquin.
Hey, of course.